Local productions seen on Delta College Public Media are made possible with support from viewers like you. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Junia Doan's A Spark. I'm Junia Doan, and thank you for joining us. My guest today is social entrepreneur, education activist, documentary filmmaker, and philanthropist Regina K. Scully. Welcome, Regina. I know that you're the president of the Artemis Rising Foundation, and you have such wide interests and accomplishments, but tell us about the foundation first, its scope.
Sure. Lovely to see you, Junia, again. Happy to be here speaking with you. And I am the founder and CEO of the Artemis Rising Foundation. And it is primarily a film foundation, but we do many projects in the arts and the media and education. And we're interested in bringing all of those three things into schools, into governments, into cultural norms and behaviors. We have helped produce over 300 films. Many of them have curricula that go with it. And many of them, they're on most of our popular streamers and people can see them all over the world. And they deal with topics of healing and transformation, broadly defined.
Transformation in this case means what?
Transformation meaning, honestly, anyone who watches any one of our films, we call them DNA changers. You will not be the same person you were before you had seen them. Literally, the cells in your body, your brain synapses, everything gets transformed when you watch stories the way we tell them. 80% of all learning is visual, and when you throw in meaningful topics and issues, people really have transformative experiences when they are watching our stories.
Because some way you touch them emotionally? Is that the best way to tell a story?
Absolutely. People don't realize that storytelling, especially visually, but even audioly, is really is kindred with neuroscience. There's a whole, there's a whole scientific element to storytelling. It literally affects the neuroscience of our body chemistry and our brain chemistry.
For the better or worse?
Well, for the better or for the worse, that's right. I like to say people spend so much time and effort on their physical diet, on exercising, what they eat, their nutrition. And I always say, what about your psychic diet? People need to pay attention to that as well. It matters. Our brains have a diet also. It's called our psychic diet. And that's what we take in, affects our mind, our spirit, and our heart, all of these things. Everything's connected.
Talk to me more about that, about taking it in.
Well, it's so important that we tell these stories because the way to reach people is to, of course, their minds are opened, but also their hearts are opened. I always say that the pathway to true, we really make changes when we know better, we do better. And we really make changes through compassion and empathy. And so how do we do that? How do people learn, a different way of looking at something, or learn to be in somebody else's shoes, or learn to see learn more about what they're feeling in their own lives and their own minds and their own emotional well-being. These stories help people really unlock a lot of issues and details and learnings for themselves, and to also deal with others.
The culture you want to transform is Western, probably. But
everybody, Eastern, Western, all over the world. Our films are in countries all over the world in multi-languages. We deal with universal truths. Grief, love, happiness, recovery, recovering from grief, recovering from addiction, recovering from I mean, anything, recovering the soil, where we have a whole bunch of films about recovering the health of our soil. These things are universal truths. Everyone all over the world understands our films.
Have they ever been censored or denied showing?
That's a good question. I mean, I don't know if, say, Russia or China is showing all of our films, but outside of maybe a handful, or North Korea, outside of a handful of countries, our films can be seen all over the world. And we try to stay away from heavy political, bipartisan identity politics, things like that. We don't really go into all of that. Like I said, we deal with universal truths. We deal with issues about joy, resilience, grief. What does loss feels like? How do we get over loss? How do we learn to take better care of our own health? What does that mean emotionally, physically, and spiritually? And these things they translate. Doesn't matter what country, what culture, and what language.
So you went to Barnard, and did you go to Barnard with this in mind?
I actually graduated from Georgetown University, a Jesuit
Oh,
institution. Yeah, I went to Georgetown. I was a language major and theology major. I had a double major. But I'm very, very involved with Barnard College. And in fact, I'm the founding sponsor. Our foundation, Artemis Rising Foundation, is the founding sponsor for the Athena Film Festival that's there. We're in our 15th year there. We just had our 15th year anniversary with Barnard, celebrating the Athena Film Festival.
what does Athena look for to accept a show?
Athena Film Festival, first of all, it's a women's festival, so very few of those around, and it really helps. We've helped launch the careers of first-time female screenwriters, directors, cinematographers, and then also, returning talent as well. But they really have a focus on women and helping to launch their careers in this field of storytelling and filmmaking.
So tell us a little bit about the translation of the film to lesson plans or other ways of using the film.
Over COVID, we made and produced this extraordinary short
Oh,
documentary about my Italian mother and film icon Sophia Loren. The name of the film is What Would Sophia Loren Do? And I have the film poster here. I just love it so much. It's currently on Netflix.
which I've seen.
Yes, which you so you know. So this is a great example. So this film, seemingly, I mean, it's joyful, it's about life, it's about Italian cinema. It's certainly, it celebrates my Italian side and heritage on my mother's side. But the film is also about um, resilience and getting over loss and grief. I mean, I lost a younger brother, my parents lost a child. And so, how do people navigate that? Also, others in my family, someone got, recovered from cancer, recovered from, some people have had real trauma in their backgrounds. There's been trauma. And so the film really delves into that, the whole recovery issue of grief and illness and even trauma. But it also celebrates joyful living, making new friends, long term friendships, marriage. My parents are married, they're going on 66 years. It's a story of resilience and joy and how to take life one day at a time. And there's always something wonderful around the corner, never to give up. And so that story the film is only 32 minutes. It's a short. It was shortlisted for an Academy Award when it came out. It's on its fifth year on Netflix. And why is it so popular? Because it deals with universal truths. And it's in 191 countries in 15 languages. My mom gets fan mail from Greece, from Serbia, from Italy, of course, from all over the world, from people who have experienced just what she's experienced throughout her life, because everyone can relate to these things. At the end of the day, we're all human.
I have downloaded several of your others, and I plan to sit on my swing on the porch and watch a few because I was so impressed with the one you did of your mother.
Thank you.
How were you raised? What were the values at home?
I grew up with two extraordinary parents. They're two of the nicest, most decent, honorable people I've ever met in my life. And I knew when you are karmically that blessed, like, that I came into this world with my mother and my dad. First of all, I knew I had to share them. You have to share when you come into life with such abundance. You have to share. And so my parents really were, the parental figures in so many of my friends' lives, for various reasons. And they just, they always had a kind word, always had an extra meal, always had an extra hug, always never judging, always just opening up their home and their hearts. And so I grew up with such, generosity of spirit, first of all, and such kindness and decency, and also joy for life, and resilience, because life is full of ups and downs. No one comes into this lifetime with a with everything going 100% their way. I mean, life can be very, very intense, as we all know. It's full of everything, right? And so I grew up in a household where everybody was like, okay, let's roll up our sleeves, let's be candid about these things, let's name the issue, let's tackle it, what can we do to improve it, how can we make the most of this situation, and how can we help others as a result of it. So I grew up in a household like that. So when I look back now, it doesn't surprise myself that I've chosen to go into this line of work, but also public service.
Of the thing that's, look, I met your parents and they are as you say, but your father has a particular calmness
Yeah.
about him, reassuring that everything is in order and things are
Yes.
I don't- right, but you can relax around him. Call
Yeah.
it his energy, call it his manner, call it his what he learned earlier on, or his
Absolutely.
personality. And I often think for young men, they need him, or they need someone like him with
You're
that
right.
confidence
You're right.
there.
Listen, our young men and our young women, or anyone of any age, we need role models, both great role models of men, of women, but also of men. And my dad is that. You're very astute, and he's a different cult. He's of Germanic background. He's Swiss, Austrian, and he's Germanic, and but he too is rock solid in his values. He is all about his family. He is, again, one of the kindest people I know, and so honorable and so decent. I've never heard a an unkind word come out of my father's mouth, ever, ever.
So when you had whatever crisis you had to face, did you automatically apply just what you said?
Yes, I listen, we all feel things. I've had real speed bumps in my life. As that film about my family, my mom and my dad, it's in there too, will attest to. We're a family that's been through a lot. However, we're also a family that looks at everything in life, as, that we go through, as a speed bump. And there's always a way through. There's always a way over, through, or around. And so, yes, I will feel things. And of course, we've all been through a lot, but we will always find that way through, around, up, around, and, to get to a new place in our lives.
Have you learned anything from going around, through, or over the speed bumps? And if so, what?
Of course, well, that's a great question. And the number one thing that I've learned is that we can, human beings, all of us human beings, we can get through anything. We can get through anything. We're also, life really is a series of speed bumps. So, and after we get through one or around one, guess what? There's going to be another one, soon after. So it's all how we look at things. Really, it's perspective. It's perspective, and it's attitude, and also gratitude. So if it's our intention to move through something and come out the other end smarter, wiser, healthier, kinder, whatever the case is, then that should be our goal through anything and over any speed bump.
When you started producing these documentaries, you had a desire to change the world, to transform it, right? And the world has changed. And I wondered if that plays into how you choose film now, subjects now.
Well, the world is changing, right? It's changing every day. We have AI, right? And we have, of course, politics are changing. The one thing that we can always count on is that there will always be change. Nothing stays the same, nothing. And so we do have to navigate um, how to get through transitions in life, both on a macro level and also on a micro level, personally and collectively. As human beings, we all have to navigate these things. How do we move through change? How do we move through opportunity? How do we move through setbacks or even blessings? How do we move through this stuff? So I feel that stories are one of the best ways that we can share with each other. One, so that we always know no one's ever alone. We're never alone. Someone else out there has experienced what we're experiencing. Always. That's always the case. And so I find that the only way grief or trauma or sadness, loneliness, only way those things can thrive and take a hold on us, like a grip, that death grip, the only way that can happen is through silence, shame, and denial. So once we expose something, talk about something, share it with somebody, choose well, but share it with someone that you trust or that you just know that you're safe doing so. You name it, you get through it, you seek help, you learn, you try to understand it. Once that happens, you're dissipating, the grip that has on you. And then immediately there's, a way through will reveal itself.
In my lifetime, that is one change I can testify to. I remember growing up, and if someone had cancer, it was never said. It was never called the big C. It was just, well, haven't seen so and so in a while. Everything was more suppressed. And I've wondered when women who've gone through rape saying it, does that liberate them, or do they get not tainted exactly, but do they get put in that victim or
Right.
some category that takes away from the rest of their lives and what they're interested in and is accomplished?
Well, this is the reason why I love storytelling, because basically, Juna, I feel like I'm in the business of destigmatizing, like the destigmatization business. That's what I'm in. When we tell our stories and when we're all honest with each other and ourselves, we're immediate. The minute we name something and reveal it and trust each other and share, first of all, what it does is it opens hearts and minds, and we realize we're not alone. And we also, like I said, it lessens its grip on us, and we destigmatize things, so that no one. That's again the only way these things can thrive is through shame, denial, and silence. So we're immediately destigmatizing something by giving it a name, by speaking about it, by sharing with each other, and by comparing and trying to find a way through together collectively and individually. And so you can see these things have less and less of a grip on us.
Do you find men readily do that?
For some men, yes, but for many, no. I think generally speaking, I'm generalizing here, but I think has been historically much harder for men and boys in our culture because that is our culture. And especially it's so tough on men. We always tell little boys, don't cry. Or be a man. Men don't cry. Men don't feel things, or don't show your emotions. So culturally, we've made it so much harder for men and boys. We have. But I hope as generations come up, that they're going to do things differently. And again, media media creates culture, and culture is what creates our society and change. So again, the stories we tell each other, the stories we tell ourselves, the stories we're watching, our psychic diets, what we learn in schools, all these things help to shape our values.
What do you think the role of emotions are in our life?
I think the primary role of emotions is to help us relate to each other, is for empathy and compassion, and for love and kindness. That's the primary role for emotions. And to help us navigate, oh, that's not that by doing that, that doesn't make that person feel right. That doesn't make me feel right. Did I make a situation better or worse? We need emotions to, they're gauges for us. They're guardrails for us. They are pathways for us to do and say and behave in ways that are appropriate, but also helpful and beneficial. And emotions are the those are our neural pathways to empathy, kindness, compassion, and love.
When I was growing up, my grandfather, Hungarian, came to this country with nothing but and hard work and decency of personality. Business deals were decided by a handshake of trust and maybe not a document. And somehow we got away from that, where everything, if it's not in the contract, it isn't. But the thing that has sort of interested me in talking about emotions and experience, have we neglected sort of to talk about values like honoring truth or your sense of honor, that is to do be a decent human being, or are you self-centered, or are you modest? I have to believe they're of interest to you. Am I wrong? Maybe I'm wrong.
No, you're right. And I can relate to your immigrant story, your grandfather from Hungary. As I said, from this film I did, it's the reason why I did the film about my mom and the Italian heritage, and even my dad's background too. What would Sophia Loren? It's on Netflix. Why is it so popular? Why so many people watch it? Because it speaks to exactly what you're saying. It's that it doesn't, those characteristics don't change no matter what our background is. Kindness is kindness in any background, any language. Decency is decency. Humility is humility. Compassion is compassion. Compassion and humility and kindness and love, they don't change just because we're from Hungary, India, Italy, or born in America. These things these characteristics and values are rock solid. And listen, how do people learn that? Some people aren't taught that. So guess what? They can learn through symbol, through reflections, through other people's experience and stories. They can learn this. Again, it's why doing stories like this are so important.
What is your role and interest in the Success Academy? What would you like to teach through that effort and the other school in California?
The Success Academy is a charter school franchise that my husband John, we were behind. I mean, gosh, 20 years ago. It's extraordinary. It's led by a woman named Eva Moskowitz, who's, my God, one of my heroes, one of our heroes. And her schools are within, I think, 4 out of the 5 boroughs of New York, and she's got over 45,000 students, maybe, and she's the 5th largest school district in New York, just her schools alone. What I love about them is that they're not just teaching to the tests. They're teaching critical thinking. They're teaching decency, honor, compassion, kindness. They're weaving these things into the curricula. So is our charter school that we started 20 years ago called the Making Waves Academy, which is in Richmond, California, and we have also thousands of students. And we are teaching critical thinking. We're teaching honesty, decency. What does it mean to be a citizen in civil society? What does that mean? And so we also are weaving in different films into our curricula as well. So all these things matter. I love the charter school system because we've been able to do things a little bit differently. We have a little bit more freedom in terms of teaching our students and not just teaching to the tests.
Do you teach Western tradition?
Yes, those school systems absolutely teach Western history, but they're teaching history all across the globe.
Interesting. With the foundation and the films and the schools and your general interest in bettering women one way or another, you have a very impressive background of accomplishments. And so the question is, do you become a teacher now, or do you become a pioneer in yet another area that's interesting you and you feel needs attention?
Well, I started off in journalism, then went into marketing, and then went into storytelling, filmmaking. And so in a way, I'm right where I want to be. I really love this field because it incorporates everything. I'm constantly doing, investigative reporting, interviewing. I'm learning about people. You have to tell stories. You have to cover the whole arc of the story and also of the people within the story. So, and I'm right where I'd like to be. I love, filmmaking is a form of the arts. And I just think so much can be learned through the arts, especially with our younger generations. But we're never too old. It doesn't
We
matter.
could go on, but I have to just end it. So what we've learned from Regina is live life at a high dimension of, she calls it transformation, you could call it decency and help, taking the emotion into a story and thereby unifying the people watching and either changing an attitude or at least make it possible for them to talk, to avoid the silence and shame that she has mentioned. I would also say that she has great energy and great ability to lead people, to get them to do her way of doing things, which is a big plus when you want to do a lot. So thank you, Regina. Thank you for being here. And I tell everyone at the end of the program, please go out and do something kind for someone you know and someone you don't know every day and every day going forward. See you next time. Thank you.
Thank you, Junia. What a beautiful interview.
To contact Junia, send her an email at juniadonsthespark@gmail.com. For more information, program schedules, and news about future guests, go to www.juniadonthespark.com. Thank you for joining us. See you next time on Junia Doan's The Spark.
Local productions seen on Delta College Public Media are made possible with support from viewers like you. Thank you.